Shvuah Tov, everyone. Hope all is well. This question will be called the second question number 14. So it's really question 15, but it's the second, it has to be question 14 because it centers around the number 14. And it's a question that I've had for quite a few years, at least 10 years, probably more, maybe 10, 15 maybe. And it's in this week's Parsha. We just finished Parsha's Bamidbar, so we're actually now, Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night, we're going into the next Parsha, Parshas Naso, but it was on today's Parsha, and this question goes to the other questions that have to do with and the quest and the ongoing investigation and finding out about the coding of the numbers, the chapter numbers, the verse numbers in Torah specifically and Tanakh in general, but Torah, the basic thesis is that the numbers, chapter numbers and verse numbers of the Torah are completely min hashamayim and designated by Hashem, by God, and regardless of where they came from or how they came, and this question is going to enforce that idea. In the beginning, the first chapter of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, deals with the counting. Hashem spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, first day of the second month, and it talked about a census. It talks about a census. There's a head count, 20 years of age and up. Those who go out to war, etc. It counts the names of the tribes and the heads of the tribes, the Nisim. Okay, go to verse 14. Numbers chapter 1 and verse 14. Yudalad. What does it say? Legad, for the tribe of God, Eliasaf ben Deuel. Okay? That's verse 14. For the tribe of God, Eliasaf ben Deuel. Okay, hold that thought. Remember that it's the tribe of Gad, God or Gad. Eliasaf ben Deuel with a dalet, Deuel, and remember also that it's verse 14. Okay. Let's go to Numbers chapter 2, verse 14. Does that sound familiar? What happened in 114? The Korban Pesach, Nisan 14, first month, 14th day. What happened in 214? ER 14, Pesach Sheni. Let's go to chapter 2 and verse 14. What does it say? Umate Gad, the same tribe, same chapter 2 verse 14. It has the same tribe. Umate Gad, Vinasi Livnei Gad, and the leader, the president, or the leader of God, Eliasaf ben Reuel. Says it with a resh. So what is it? Was his father's name Deuel? Or was his father's name Reuel? What's interesting is that they both occur. My question is, why do these verses occur in verse 14? That's number one. And number two, is, what was his father's real name? Was it Deuel or Reuel? Now, if you look at the Hebrew letter Daled, it looks like a 90-degree angle. And if you look at the Hebrew letter Resh, it's very similar. Is that part of it as well? But what's interesting is that this week, those letters came up, and that is something else that's a question. These are all branches of questions that are on the center on this one thing, but the name David has a gematria value of 14. And the name Reuven is 259 in regular gematria. But if you add David and Reuven, 14 and 259, you'll get 273, which is also in this week's parsha. That was the exact number of the extra Bechorim that were not in the number of the amount of Bechorim that were switched over and taken over by the Levium. The Levites, 22,000 of them, replaced 22,000 Bechorim, firstborns, for the job they were supposed to do. The Levium took them over, according to our Parsha. But there was an extra number of Bechorim. The total number of Bechorim was 22,273, which means there were 273 firstborn that were extra. Resh Daled, Reuven David, Reuel, Deuel. Those letters came up in many ways today. But it goes back to the question of why was it in verse 14? Oh, I forgot one thing. When they announced the Molad, it was 252 and 14 chalakim. 14 chalakim. The Molad. So we see 14 has very big connection. And my question is why, if it's not Min Hashemayim, did Reuel and Deuel both come in verse 14? An extra added bonus. God, Gimel Daled, is equal to 7 in simple gematria. Actually, in simple gematria and in regular gematria, it's the same. 7 and 7 is 14. Is that a connection to 14? It just came to me right now, but that's the derech that we're going on.